I'm John Batchelor. Larry Kudlow Reports is here. Larry had a conversation with Jim DeMint this evening on CNBC's Kudlow Reports. I did not see it. I was getting ready for my show. I apologize, Mr. Kudlow, but Jim DeMint's a straight-talking guy. He says what's going to happen, and when he says there are no taxes in the negotiations with the White House, he's telling what he knows to be true. That's consistent with my information as well, Larry.
Well, it is, and it's consistent with what the Republican leader in the Senate is saying, Mitch McConnell. I mean, I use Mitch McConnell as a terribly important barometer. I mean, Jim DeMint is a terrific and very solid citizen. He says no taxes. Marco Rubio told me last night, no taxes. Mitch McConnell is saying no taxes. Eric Cantor and John Boehner are saying no taxes. See, here's where I think the president is losing it. He needs to be focused on the issue at hand, which is spending. And he needs to be framing a debate on the Medicare entitlement, on defense spending, and on domestic discretionary spending. Those are the plausible alternatives and trade-offs. That's where the action has to be. There's no vote for big tax hike, $600 billion. There's no votes for that. And I don't know why Mr. Obama, unless he's just parading around and floating trial balloons for his left. But other than that, they have got to get down to the nuts and bolts of a multi-trillion-dollar spending reduction bill that has teeth with some kind of formula to limit spending. They got to do that. If they don't do that, then none of this is worth it.
I think I've heard the White House boasting a little bit that they're going to get the Republicans to move on defense. But that's easy. The Republicans are ready to move on to defense. There's no negative there. I've heard this from the Tea Party Republicans as well as from the veteran Republicans. That's not a victory. The White House, however, I have no information that they believe there's a deal that doesn't include tax hikes. They believe that they can do it with excise taxes. They believe they can do it with what they call special tax breaks for certain industries. They believe that they can heap that all together and come up with a message that convinces the Democrats. I don't, Larry. I don't think the Republicans are going to vote for anything that looks like a tax, even if it's a special tax break. They're not going to vote for it.
The only way you get rid of those special tax breaks is if you lower marginal tax rates.
Yeah, reform taxes.
Reform the code.
Right.
And here's another one I don't understand. The president, everybody in the country wants business tax reform. Lower the rate to 25% or 20 or 15 and get rid of all the K Street loopholes. Everybody, there's a bipartisan consensus. Why the White House doesn't get on that bus is utterly beyond me. I don't understand it, and I think it's it's not only a tactical mistake, it's a strategic mistake because it affects the economy in the next couple of years. And that has to be the number one thing. So I think Mr. Obama is making a lot of political errors.
I want to take a shot at why the White House and the Democrats will not talk about it, because the general regard is that taxes are punitive, to be directed against rich people who are getting away with things. And therefore, they do not see taxes and reducing taxes as a source of growth. They don't believe it, Larry. They reject it. They reject the facts from the Reagan administration. You remember, they reject your success. They think it didn't happen.
Well, I agree with that. And I think there's an obsession among the whole Democratic Party to reverse the Bush tax rates. I just think it's an obsession. It's like a mental illness.
Right.
And I don't think the country is there because of the economy. And again, I come back to this. The opportunity for the president is to lead on the spending side, to lead on entitlements, for example, and to lead on defense if he's got a good case to make. Although, remember, $400 billion has already been taken out of the defense budget, and I don't know what Leon Panetta is going to do about that. He can't be too happy. So, but this spending is what the country wants. There's a Bloomberg poll out that shows over 60% of the people believe both spending and tax cuts are the key to economic growth, and another 60% say that they do not want higher taxes for purposes of lowering the deficit. I mean, it just couldn't be any clearer.
Here we are at July 4th. It's time for Kudlow Looks Ahead. The GDP growth for the second quarter could well be under 2%. We can agree on that. It could be well below 2%. Do you follow Steve Moore saying we could get 3% for the second half of the year, which would not be a robust year altogether, but would be better than we are today?
Well, I think that's possible. But I think one of the keys to that is a continued decline in energy and gasoline prices, oil and gasoline prices. We have gone through a very nasty oil price shock.
Right.
And down through the decades, oil shocks are one of the key precursors of a recession. So we went from about $80 a barrel last summer to $115 a barrel this spring. We're at $93 a barrel at the close of business today, and gasoline is marching lockstep. So I think if the energy prices continue to fall and provide a tax cut to the economy, you could get a 3% second half. I'm going to condition it on that. Without that, if energy prices are merely stable, then I think it will be very hard to achieve 3%. Even though companies are profitable, I think it will be very hard.
And the president's remarks tomorrow, specifically about the debt ceiling negotiation, will he use the word revenue? Will he insist upon flaunting that to the Republicans?
Well, that's a good question. I expect him to. I mean, Jay Carney, his spokesman, was very clear today and yesterday, and they're using the word revenue. So I expect that, but I honestly don't know. I don't know what the purpose of this
Wouldn't we be fair to assume...
This could be an Afghanistan press conference, John.
Yes. Wouldn't we be fair to assume that if he uses that word revenue, there is no deal?
Well, that's correct. It'll harden the positions. Now, mind you, we're at the end of June.
Right.
The Treasury has set August 2nd as the debt date, the debt comes due date. That's the limit. But the buzz in Washington today is it's going to be pushed back 3 weeks to August 22nd. I can't confirm that, but that's the buzz. My own reading is it could go as long as September. So I think you've got a lot of running room on the debt ceiling, a lot of running room.
All right, till Labor Day, we can hope, although something funny always happens in August. Larry Kudlow of CNBC's Kudlow Report and Kudlow Radio, syndicated on the weekend. Happy 4th of July, Larry. I'm John Batchelor. This is The John Batchelor Show.